gonna die. We all are gonna die. We all are gonna die. We all are gonna die. Why don't we help each other prepare for it? Without death there could not be life. I'm talking about end of life conversations, conversations about the end of life. Death and dying, grief and loss, conversations about the end of life.
My parents are getting older, so it sucks. Like it's also they're gonna die. Like people die. You say it's a part of life and it makes us appreciate this more, but it still sucks. Like I will always go back to death. Still sucks.
Welcome to this episode of End of Life Conversations. I'm Reverend Wakil David Matthews.
And I'm the Reverend Mother Ana Luisa Armendariz. In this podcast, we share people's experiences with death and dying, grief and loss, and the end of life.
We really enjoy all of our excellent and insightful guests. They generously tell their stories with compassion and wisdom. We also want to thank Wakil and Wendy's children and partners for that wonderful introductory song. Okay, let's get started.
Welcome again and again. Today we are speaking with Jay Deitcher. Jay is a freelance journalist, former social worker, and a dad to 3 kiddos. He loves writing and ranting about parenting, Judaism, comics, pro wrestling, addiction, and mental health. He received an MFA from Stony Brook University and has been published in Rolling Stone, The Washington Post, Esquire, Self, BBC, The Cut, and Vox.
Yeah, great. We reached out to him after reading an article a friend sent to us that was on PS or Pop Sugar, which is an online health and wellness zine. It's part of the Vox Media Network. His article was called Why Texting the Dead Helps Those Who Are Still Living. And it really resonated with our goal to normalize the end-of-life conversations. That's what we're here for, right? We had interviewed Russ Young a while back, who puts up wind phones, which is a way to call your deceased loved ones. That episode with Russ went live on March 12th, so you can check it out. This seemed like a natural extension of that idea. Jay has written other articles about end of life and loss and grief and a lot of other things he's going to tell us about. And we'll post links to the podcast notes and to his website, etc., on the podcast notes. So welcome, Jay. So great to have you.
Thanks for having me. Honored.
Yeah. So we like to always start kind of a way to get to know our guests a little bit and to ask about when you first became aware of death.
Yeah, my grandma died when I was a couple years old. I mean, I don't remember that much. It's just like she disappeared from my life. A friend in my 20s, I started losing people. The people who I lost, I felt like I was there for. So I didn't have much guilt over. But one of them was a good friend of mine who was very mentally ill, and he lost his life because of that. And I remember it shook like my faith a lot for like a year, because I'm fairly spiritual, like, and connected with Judaism and everything. And I just started questioning like why I do certain things. I don't know why I thought that like spirituality could save David, but that one hit me. And then I got past that, and he's still with me. And then recently, when my friend Jeff, who I wrote that piece about, that it shook me. Like I even got emotional when you were doing the intros. I don't know why, just because this is related to Jeff. So yeah, that one shook me more than I expected. But I also didn't expect him to die. I'm in my 40s now, and like people start dying.
Yeah.
and like even when it's like normal, it sucks. It sucks. Like I can be I'm not gonna say my spirituality was shaken at all with Jeff, but it's just a hole in your life. Like
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just someone missing that was such a part of my life that still like it hits you. Like even if you're doing it the best, even if you're killing it grief, like it still hits you because you love this person. Yeah, and he was like, he would have been 49. It's weird to think of him that way, even though he was in his late 40s anyway. He died a year and a half ago. And then that one just hit me a lot. It still hits me. I still miss the guy.
Sure. Yeah. It's I think the way you put it is so real that it's kind of a hole in your life when somebody that you really care about disappears and they're still there. That hole is a part of you still, right? Their life and what they gave you is still a part of you.
They're still missing. I tried to replace I think I said that in the article. I tried to like find new friends because you need other people to lean on when you have this hole. But like,
Oh
it's still,
yeah.
I don't have a Jeff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like your grandmother died as a young child, and then you have this kind of monumental friend who passed away. Did that begin your kind of like your death impacted life? Like, do you think about death more these days, and is it impacting
Yeah.
everything around you?
So my kids, I have 3 kids, and my son talks about death like crazy. And it's like like a, so I was like, oh, am I going to fit in on this podcast so much? Cause I talk about it so jokingly. Right. But I talk about it so much that my son's like, daddy's dead. Like he'll just say that and I'll be like, and then I said to my wife, I said, why does he think it's so funny to joke about death all the time? And she said, it's because all you talk about is how dead Jeff is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Jeez.
been the way I cope with Jeff's death is like, it's in that piece. I'm like, I texted him an invite to his party and then I billed him for it. Like that kind of stuff. It does make it easier to cope with. And Jeff and me joked like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I deal with it. But it's definitely throughout my life. And now my kids, death is a thing that my kids talk about daily just because it's now them trying to understand it.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm. Jay, I really love that for you, though. I think that we underserve our children by
Mhm.
not being open about how death has impacted our lives and how
Yeah.
death is actually a part of life and how death can be really beautiful. And, you value different aspects of being alive in the finiteness of it
Yeah.
because there
Yeah.
is death, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I am so thrilled that your kids are talking about death daily.
Yeah. Yeah. Ana Luisa also has kids who have that as a subject matter.
All the time.
I'm sure my parents are getting older. So it sucks. Like it's also they're gonna die. Like people
Mhm.
die. You say it's a part of life and it makes us appreciate this more, but it still sucks. Like I will always go back to that still sucks.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
there's that. Well, I mean, you guys are much younger than me. I'm about twice your age or so, maybe not twice, but and of course, in my cohort, if you will, the people my age, a lot of people are leaving,
Mhm.
and so again, that's sort of part of the reason I think Ana Luisa and I started talking about this is just how do we be more natural around this? How do we be more accepting? But also, I love, just yeah, it does suck. It totally sucks when
Yeah.
our dear friends are not here anymore. We miss them and we feel them. I still feel most of them, So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks. That's such a great way to put it. So why don't you tell us more about the article and more of your other work that you're doing? Just I noticed you sent us links to 3 articles, but I know you've also said you do some other work and some other interests. So tell us more about that. Tell us more about what you're filling your life with and the work you're
Yeah.
doing.
So during COVID I worried a lot about my parents dying. So one of them is about forgot the word for it, but grief before someone leaves you.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. And then you can get, I was very controlling, like not
Hmm.
accepting things. So I
Yeah.
wrote about that. And writing about these things helps me. It's how I process things. And I get to
Yeah.
talk, like, I don't know if you do it with the podcast, you brought up that, like, when I'm in my 40s, I'm seeing friends pass away, which is scary. And it's a new life phase. So I started writing more about it. And it's probably, it gets you to talk to cool people. So that's
Yeah, it really does.
why I write. They help me process it. And then after Jeff's died, I wrote 2 more pieces on it. And one was a year before Jeff died, a friend of ours died who I wasn't really hit. Like it didn't affect me that much. And I was talking to him about how it didn't affect me that much that he died. And then Jeff said, when I die, you're going to cry. And I was like, F you, Jeff, man. What the hell? How are you going to throw that weighty comment on me while I'm trying to go on the treadmill and talk to you about wrestling? And then I'm like, and I'm not going to give you a pity answer right now. And it was just like not on my mind. And then Jeff just died on me
Oh,
a
wow.
year later out of nowhere. And then that night it was wrestling night, and I would text him every night during wrestling. And I don't know how much you know about wrestling, but it's on every freaking night. So it's Jeff and me texting all night. And it helps me get through my kid stuff. Like I'm doing kid stuff, I'm texting. So it's like my bedtime routine with the kids. And Jeff's not on the other line. And I just broke down. And I think I was on the kitchen floor chopping something up or making dinner for my kids with tears running down my face, just with the fact I couldn't text Jeff and like he wasn't there. And then it was like, F you, Jeff, you called it. and so I started texting him, and I definitely was. It didn't like soothe the pain texting him that night the whole time, and it wasn't like I thought he was texting me back or anything, but it gave me. It was the whole like I didn't have anyone to text with, so I texted him. Then it became sort of like I was, and this is what the Pop Sugar piece was about. I was sort of scolding him at times for how unhealthy he was. I think he existed mainly on pork and shellfish.
Is it a heart attack that took him out?
I don't even know what took him out. He was unhealthy. In many ways, another thing that Wakil, I think, did I say your name right? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got it. Yep.
Yeah. One thing that happens when you start watching your peers die is it's also a reflection of you. So then it was also, and that's scary. We were talking about the finiteness of life. So in many ways, Jeff, I think, was a reflection of a lot of our friends of like what could have happened because he wasn't married. And I don't want to say marriage saved my life, but it did get me to like, it was sort of like, F you, Jeff, you left us behind. Like, I know if I die, I'm going to leave a lot of people behind. And they do make me sort of take care of myself a little more. And there was an idea of like, how dare you leave us behind, Jeff? It wasn't, I didn't have guilt over me being a survivor. I know I didn't, or anything, but there was definitely anger at him. And that came out in the text messages. So I just texted him everything. And then now I still do text him, not as much. I wish I texted him more. And it just like joking, just because he would find it funny that I'm texting a dead guy.
Yeah. I really love this as a practice, though. People tend to clean out our loved ones' closets pretty quick, get rid of anything that shows a sign that they're still physically in our fields, right? And so it brought to mind that years and years ago, there was this homeless man who actually had a phone, and I would find him sometimes in different places, pick him up, take him on the bus. And when Jack died, I didn't even know. Like, I went looking for him because he really mattered to me.
Yeah.
But I still have Jack's phone number in my phone list. And when I'm looking through my J's, I'll come up on Jack McKnight, and I'm like, oh, Jack, I miss you.
Right.
So I'm not texting him, but I do really love how I'm still interacting with the spirit of Jack McKnight, So I love that you're still texting your friend. I think it's marvelous.
Yeah. And I like the recognition of the anger, really, being upfront about that. Because, certainly pisses you off sometimes when somebody, how dare you do that to me, right? So, it's very, very important to acknowledge, I think, for people and let people know. I mean, that's the reason we do this, to kind of make sure everybody knows that all these things are normal. It's normal to be pissed off. It's normal to be to retreat. It's normal to think nothing matters anymore. It's all these different normal things that people feel like shouldn't be, or they try to hide, or they try to be, I'm okay now, which just isn't the way it works. So thank you for sharing that. That's so important.
Yeah.
All right, where are we here?
Well, Wakil, I was going to ask, I know it's we have that's other question, but I want to ask, what do you do to feel supported during these times? Like when it's really tender, and like, I can see right now that this is, a really poignant moment for you. Like, how do you make sure that you're still like held?
So I'm a recovering alcoholic. I have 19 years sober, and Jeff was, I'm not using his last name. He was a part of that community also. So and he helped a lot more people than I did. When I say you left us all behind, it was like, I don't do much, man, to help other people. Jeff helped everyone. So I was like, what are all these people going to do now? So it did give me the opportunity to sort of reach out to people that were also friends with Jeff and mourn with them. And I think I've gotten a lot closer with some of those people. And there are some people that still would really benefit from Jeff's help that I'm not. He was a real mensch, but when you're a mensch, you got to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I love so that his power on earth has been to create more community for you too.
Yeah. I think about that a lot. And I talk about Jeff a lot. Like I do, I allow myself to. And I have other friends who want to talk about Jeff a lot.
Yeah.
Great.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I'm going to take a moment here. I need to leave, Jay, but blessings on your journey. May Jeff and the angels surround you and fill you with peace and
thank you.
righteous anger at, how dare he leave?
Right.
Right, exactly.
Right.
I'll see you soon. Ciao.
All right.
Yeah. Thank
See
you.
Ana Luisa. Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate that too. I think, part of that question that we like to kind of hear is, do you have practices that you do? Or, part of your Jewish faith and prayers or anything else that has helped you kind of cope with the times when you just feel overwhelmed by this or
I
by
do.
anything?
I'm very much a practicing Jew.
Mhm.
I don't know how much I believe, to be honest.
Well.
But I do things just in case a lot, and I like the community.
Yeah.
I do love Judaism. I like the Jewish culture. I like my community. I do have a lot of, in my journal, like I did a lot of work over the years. I burned out of social work and I found a job I really love where I feel like I do good in the world.
Mhm.
And so I think I have a lot of self-worth right now.
Yeah, good.
So like I still feel like, yeah, Jeff's gone. I miss him. But it's also inspired pieces like the Pop Sugar piece, which will hopefully help other people. Like
Exactly.
that's what I do is like when you had me on the show, it's like I'm just a normal dude grieving on the page. That's what it comes down to. I'm a schmucky dude grieving on the page, going through all the emotions. And maybe someone else can pick up on that because we all
Absolutely.
go through it. So I guess religious spiritual practices, that's all intertwined, I guess,
Mhm. Mhm.
including in my writing, thank God, with my self-worth. Like I think of that as connected to my religion and my spirituality also.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Yeah, great. Let's see. Tell us more. Tell us about what challenges have you run up against as you're dealing with this, or as you're maybe even in your work. Have you? Probably getting things published is a challenge, but it looks like you're doing a good job. I was going to say, and you might want to talk more about some of the articles, the one about anticipatory grief that you talked about. Anything else that you want to share about that, and then just anything that's come up as like, this is hard. This has been hard to go through, or this has been a block in the way. Like, this guy back here, Ganesh, likes to move our things out of the way. He also likes to put things in the way for us.
Right. So I think the other day, this isn't writing affiliated, but it was just a way that I think probably Jeff's death swooped in and made me awkward with people. I forgot. You prompted me to think about this. I can't remember what you said. No, it was your partner. She brought it up about the guy disappearing
Yeah.
and her not knowing about it. Well, I have a friend that is one of my best friends, but we don't always talk all the time. I just love her, and we've been friends for about 19 years, and we have no friends in common. To be honest, they're pretty antisocial. And I kept calling, and they kept not picking up. And then, which is weird for them, and then I realized they could die without me knowing.
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like a really scary thought, and it made me want to somehow protect against that ever happening. And so I started driving by their house, which is weird. And then they finally picked up the phone the other day, and I did the horrible thing of saying, I thought you could have been dead. Like, that's not a way to start a conversation with someone. And I haven't like apologized for it. And I don't think you're allowed to be weird with friends every now and then.
Yeah, that's right.
But I definitely gave her a weird phone call, and she got off the phone pretty quick after I told her I thought she could have been dead.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that comes across as like Ana Luisa is saying, those kind of things are challenging to think about people, especially that we don't get a chance to be in touch with very often. Yeah. I just had somebody reach out to me who I haven't heard from in quite a while too. And, I wondered the same thing. How come I don't hear from you? What happened to you? Where'd you go? So yeah, that's definitely a challenge. Is there anything about the end of life that frightens you, that scares you about your own end of life?
Oh, the whole thing scares the crap. I mean, you can't do anything about it. I said that's the anticipatory grief thing. I was trying to control my parents' behaviors when it was around COVID, and I was very paranoid, and very protective. We didn't leave the
Yeah.
house for years, and
Wow.
I wanted them to not leave their house for years. My dad's
Hmm.
almost 90, or he's in his 90s. I think he's almost 90. And so I just had to let it go. Like, I was just driving them nuts and pushing them away. And I mean, I could sit here. My wife broke her ankle the other day, and it screwed up. Like, it threw our whole life off because she could not
Sure.
leave her bed for 3 weeks. And just that is like that quick. Someone could die. Like it
Yeah.
could have been just these little things. Like, you could worry about my dad dying. Like, people always talk about that. Like, you can worry about that guy dying, but any of us could go at any moment. I try. It's terrifying. It's just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And the I didn't get to read that yet. I want to read it. The anticipatory grief article. Can you tell us a little bit more about what what came up as you were writing that?
I think.
As
I
far
think
as
by then, normally when I'm writing about it, I've processed it a little. Like, I try not to bleed out on the page when I write, because then you could just end up with like these really emotional pieces with no ending,
yeah,
because you're still
yeah,
in it. So I think I
yeah,
had processed a good amount of that. So what came up when I was doing it, I think that's me saying I'm letting it go and realizing other people were going through that during COVID, but it can happen a lot, I think, with a lot of
sure,
us.
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah,
want my kids, I think about my grandma who died when I was like 2, and I still have memories of her that are very positive, but not
wow,
many. And so I think
mhm.
want to hold on to my parents as long as possible and to give my kids the time with them. Parents love grandparents.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, our family is going through that. My wife has a terminal diagnosis that we had last year, right? But she's doing really well, and this is like well past what we thought would be. So there's just this sense of there's anticipatory grief, but there's also this kind of liminal space of like right now we don't know, and in fact that's always true, right? We don't know; it could all turn
Right.
around at any time. But it's even more present for us at this point, So my kids and
Wow.
I have these long conversations, like how are you doing with this? And we're all just sort of walking along, going, well, thank God for one more day, right?
Right.
And so that can kind of be at least for us, that's kind of been the way we processed it. We just be thankful for every day, and I guess in a way that should be every day of everybody's life. And
Right.
there's a Dalai Lama quote that's every day think as you wake up. Today I'm fortunate to have woken up.
Right.
I'm alive. I have a precious human life, and I'm not going to waste it. And so I think of that, and it's sort of how I go through my day, and I think my kids are dealing with it that way as well. So they're all grown, so they're doing their own lives, but it's a kind of it is, as you said, that sense of just, yeah, this is going to happen. And as your parents get older, and yeah, as it becomes more real, to have that kind of anticipatory grief can be overwhelming at times as well. But then I think what's important and what you mentioned is just not only letting it go, but also acknowledging it, just being with it, saying, yeah, this hurts. This feels like shit. And
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that day. Right. But also then to say, okay, I let go of it and let it be what it is. Yeah.
But
Thanks
how
for
do you be
sharing that.
present? Like, your situation, I don't know how I would handle that.
Yeah. Well, it's acceptance, one thing, and really looking at the world right now, there's I'm having a lot of practice and acceptance. The world is as crazy as it is, and there's only so much I can do about it.
Right.
Mostly what I can do is be loving and caring of the people in my immediate vicinity, do my best to help my community, and just make sure every day is as good as it can be. It sounds like what you're kind of doing with your parents too, making sure you have as much quality time and your kids have as much quality time as possible. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of the answer to that. Well, thank you. This has been really interesting. I think if there's anything else, yeah. Is there anything you wish we'd have asked about it? Anything else you'd like to share with us?
I'll tell you a funny story about Jeff. So the last time I talked to him was actually, so one thing is, since I've been sober 19 years, most people
Yeah,
who have died, like, I've been there for them, and it's the same with Jeff. Like, I didn't have any guilt, like saying like, oh, I wish I was there.
yeah,
But the funny thing about Jeff is, I talked to him the night beforehand. hours before he died, actually, which, I like that. Like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. That I might have been one of the last people to text him and to be texting with him. And I know he's having a good time. But a few days beforehand, he called me, right? It was on Thanksgiving. And I mentioned I was on the phone with another friend, right? When we were texting. And so he called me and then I didn't pick up. And Jeff, I would often say, like, I'm not talking to you right now. I don't have time to talk to you. I have 15 kids jumping on me right now. And I did that. I said, Jeff, it's Thanksgiving. I'm not talking to you right now. He said, but you picked up for Javi. Oh, I said that guy's name. I said, yeah, but I thought Javi needed my help. I don't think you need my help right now. Do you need my help right now? And Jeff said, no. And then I said, good, then I'm not talking to you. Bye. And I have no guilt from that interaction. Like, I find that hilarious that a few times days beforehand, I could have talked with Jeff on the phone and I couldn't have done it. Like, people have guilt at the end, like, oh, I wish I took that phone call. I don't. I had no time to talk to Jeff that day.
Good. That's such
Like,
a great
yeah,
attitude.
it's funny. I find that funny.
That is. Thank you. That's a great story. Very important. I think a good note for listeners, that at least to pay attention to that guilt, whatever that guilt is, that shame, and acknowledge it, but then think about, did I really do any harm? Did I really cause any pain, or did I really do anything I wish I hadn't? Maybe you did. Maybe you need to face that too.
Right.
But in this case, I love the fact that this was just the way you related with him. And it was a perfect example, actually a perfect way to continue to relate to him right up to when he's gone.
Right. It's true. We were bickering all the way.
And even afterward.
Yeah.
You're still doing it.
Yeah.
Which is really sweet. Really great. Well, I really appreciate that. Thanks so much for taking the time to share with us, share your story. And it's been
Thanks for having me.
really sweet, really enlightening in many ways. Do you want to read the quote that you gave us from Larry David, or you want me to read it?
You can read it. I don't have it on me.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So thank you. This is a really funny quote too. One thing I want to just say, get from this whole thing is this wonderful sense of humor that you have, and the sense of the absurd, maybe, that you carry along with this, the acknowledgement of your grief and knowledge of what you need to deal with. So thank you so much for that as well. So yeah, we'll just finish up with this quote from Larry David. Talking about his friend Richard Lewis. He says, he was the sweetest guy. It's so hard to believe he's not here. I talk to him because I feel like he's watching me. And I tell him to, hey, leave me alone. Keep away. I got stuff to do. Right? Thank you, Larry David. That's just exactly what you were talking about. Even now, right? Even now, maybe you can say, okay, Jeff, I really don't have time for this.
Right.
But I'll get back to you.
But I wanted to show that quote also. I look up to Mel Brooks and what's the 2,000-year-old man partner of his, Carl Reiner, and they ate dinner every night until Carl died, and they watched Jeopardy together. And I wanted to show male friendship with that quote also, and just so like we can get hit by stuff. Like, it's not just our wives and kids dying; it really hurts.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to actually, the next interview we're doing is with a person who's talking about male grief, male emotions. And so thank you so much for bringing that out too. That's big important part of this. And that not only do people in general have trouble talking about death and dying, but especially in our culture, men tend to have a lot of trouble with showing emotion and with being present for this kind of difficult thing. I've been kind of taking a informal poll of every time I'm online in a group of people, spiritual group, or a webinar. I just went to a webinar about death and dying yesterday. I just check, and it's never more than 20% men showing up for these things. Yeah, and usually like 10%. So I think that's an indicator right there of what you're talking about. So thank you for being one of those men who can not only feel, but talk about it and share it and remind us that it's all a good thing. So
it's good to be one of those men that can talk
that's
about
right.
these things.
They can sit on the floor crying, right?
Yeah, I like emotions. I like emotional men. I like being someone who can feel these things.
My kids always give me trouble about crying at commercials and stuff, So, so, all right. Well, thanks again, Jay. I really appreciate you. Have a great day.
Yes, take care. Bye. Thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us on the End of Life Conversations. We appreciate you and look forward to sharing our stories. We encourage you to subscribe to have access to premium episodes and extra resources. Links to our guests and their recommendations and a transcript of this episode will be in the podcast notes.
Yes, thank you so much. And please tell all your friends. Follow us on social media, and again, consider subscribing for some excellent premium content. We want to acknowledge that the music we are using was composed and produced by Charles Heastand. We also want to acknowledge that we live on unceded lands that have been cared for thousands of years by Indigenous peoples who are still here.